Hello and welcome to this is an extra stream, so it's kind of um, an in-between stream where I'll be working on, I suppose normally when I'm working on this project, I'm working on kind of features and new language features and bits and bobs like that. What's happened lately is because of just focusing on features and not really so much on refactorings and things. Um, Code has gotten a bit crufty, a little difficult to work with at times, and there have been comments on it as well. So I said I did want to allocate some time to just basically tidying some things up and putting some basic hygiene in place and just cleaning things up a bit. So again, like the extra sessions, this probably isn't going to be the most engaging. I won't probably be talking too much is the intention. But yeah, I'll just be hopefully focusing on refactoring. So three things that I'm hoping to do, and not gonna attempt to not spend too long on this, but basically just set up maybe a nicer, actually start setting up a proper kind of file and folder structure in the project. Add a few more helper functions just for initializing because some of the values when I'm creating them um, require a bit of wrapping using, for example, new val ref and using a new value variant. I'm going to try and simplify a few of those. Maybe simplify the actual definitions of the variants in the values for this language, and hopefully those three things. I have a few other, say, more advanced refactorings that I have in mind as well. Might not get to those today, but hopefully these changes will go a fair bit to clean up what's here at the moment. Um, First of all, I just realized in a few seconds before the stream that this is one area that I could probably clean up right away is move the test files, or at least the old test files, to they're actually more examples than tests at this point. So I might just create an examples directory and move test files to examples. Why didn't that? Oh, because there's a dot there. And there we go. And we'll move all of those there. One other thing I must do actually, so I'll actually would I revert that? I'll actually add the updates to the source directory and add them as a work in progress, because what I want to do is stash the current work that I'm working on. I should have done that before I moved all those files, but I'll do that now, and I'll resume my change. I just see that my branch is ahead. Actually, I should have pushed that recently. Let me just check the logs, see what's yeah. So I just converted more of the script project. So anyway, this will be the first change. So it'll just be move example files to examples directory. So that's all right. So next thing what I want to do is break up eval first of all. Well, actually, first of all, I'll move it into move it into its own directory. Now, it took me a while to get used to to the package kind of mechanism in I better change that to the packaging mechanism and like things like mod and you know how imports work in Rust. But I believe that putting eval into an eval directory and renaming it to mod should have this working the same as it did before. Yeah, so that'll just be move eval into its own. And what does Rust call them? Does Rust call them packages? So there are crates, but that's kind of the whole unit, I suppose. A package is one or more crates. So what are the but then there are modules. Okay, yeah. So so what I'm doing is creating its own module for eval. All right. So then the next thing that I want to do is one sizable kind of section of this file. Well, actually, there are a couple. Maybe I'll do each in turn. So there's a scope section that I think could be moved to its own file, which would make sense. So we'll put that there. That could actually be moved down. Although scope stack is defined in terms of scope, so maybe not. Although then there's actually there's a reference to valref with source. So until I create a new module with the values, then I can't really move the scope stack, I don't think. So let's start with values then, actually. And all the associated types and functions. So that will cause a bit of issue now because those have been moved. Not least because they'll main is using them as well. So what I'll have to do is kind of re-export those from mod, I believe. Do I have anything in test that I can use as a reference here, actually? If I just do mod mod value, will that work? And maybe it'd have to be pub mod. No. Let's see. So it's all the new val refs I'm probably going to want to replace those shortly as well anyway with the what I was mentioning in terms of, for example, instead of having new valref value bool and then this b value, I'll just have new bool. But that will have to come in time. Let's see. Is mod working? All right. So if I go into main, I'm using mod eval there, and that's all right. But then in mod eval, I need to reference this. Am I getting errors from eval as well? Yeah, so I can't find value in this scope. What I could do for that anyway is something like use value star, although that wouldn't be good long term. But I can do things one at a time, I presume. Why isn't that working now? Yeah, like I said, not I haven't found a Rust module system the clearest to get started with anyway. Oh, because that module is private. Pub maybe. Not sure. That seems to work though. Eval ref. I'll just try and get the thing working and then see if I can refactor it somewhat. Val with source. In fact, I should probably just be pulling all of those in. Block and scope stack. Ooh, that's kind of tricky because those are now somewhat mutually recursive. That's very tricky. So block is defined in terms of the AST. Scope stack is defined in terms of values. I may have to put those in there in the short term, which isn't nice, but let's see. Where's block defined? Oh, block is defined in AST. Can I access AST like that? Will I have to access it from the create root? So throw scope stack into here for the as well for the time being. I'll put object in there too. probably don't need declaration type, but I'm sure Rust will tell me if it's unused. Now I'm probably introducing some headaches, am I, because I called this value? Not sure yet. No decal type defined. Is it not a public thing? No, it's public. That's the issue. So we don't have arc and mutex defined in there. And I'll need to make all of these public in the short term. And finally, I need to define hash map in here. Okay, and arc mutex aren't being used in there. That's kind of nice. So first of all, one thing that I want to avoid is generally when I'm calling functions from a module, I like to have the module actually be used as a prefix. So there are going to be a lot of these, I think. And this is just going to highlight the need for simplifying that too. So now that I've given all those an explicit one of those, do I then have to yeah, so that's an issue now, is that I'm not forwarding the definition of that function. That's kind of tricky. How do I get good semantics around it here in this file while still exporting for the external file. Yeah, there's probably not much I can do about it in the short term. Anyway, for these, I'll also do the same. And we'll do it like that. At least it's introduced a new file, so it's some bit broken up, even if it really doesn't look great. And maybe I'll create a new branch for this. You know, it's basically going to be merged into master. I would hope, or merged back into the work in progress Laravel branch shortly enough. But you know, just in case. So I'll have refactor split into files. And so this will be the first commit. And it'll be create eval value and module. Okay, and the next one will then be bind, I would say. At least these functions shouldn't be accessed from main. And I'll make that public. Bind should really be the only one that's necessary here. I'll also need to, I'm not sure if I need to use mod value here in order to import it. I'll check it out without it in a minute, but I'll need to import a bunch of things in here as well, and possibly AST as well. I probably define the modules in the main package as opposed to having to redeclare them in each of these modules. Again, it's not something that is too clear to me where to define all these things. But I suppose I can get it working first and then try removing them and seeing what works. So in mods now, I suppose I'll need bind, and I'll add that in there. Bind name. And I'll probably need bind type too. So what's it saying up at the top? Oh, it's probably just an unused import of value because I'm not using the stuff from it yet. And yeah, I suppose I'll start using the stuff from it now. And then remove what I don't need. same as before, 401. So those are mutually recursive as well. So that's probably not feasible to actually split these up in that way. That's a pity. So I'll actually have to revert these changes. Let me see. So in that case, what I can still do is take. So I can't remove bind from here. Were there any other notable pieces that could be potentially removed? So there was applying operators. There was the prototypes that will probably be moved, and same with the built-ins. But yeah, maybe built-ins will do one actually. So let's try that. And I'll have built-ins coming in here. Yeah, so let's try that. Okay, self can only be used for mod, I presume. And realize that. A similar path does exist. That's what it says. But then if I try to compile with that, and file not found for module value in. So value would have to exist in built-ins. So how do I reference a sibling package? Or module? So to import from the same level, use super, I guess. And this, I believe, imports from basically the root. So I guess I need to use super here instead. No, that doesn't seem to work. But maybe if I get rid of that. Okay, and then have this mod define all the modules defined in it. And this is then defined in, okay. Okay, that's one more piece moved out of eval at least. I suppose I shouldn't be defining these functions directly in eval based on the structure so far. I should probably just be using this as a declaration point of what's in the module. But for the moment, I will just add what I have so far. So what was my last commit? Create a value module. Okay, so next, what would be a good one for next? I suppose I'll restart my dev loop command. Yeah, this would be this would probably be a good one to split out as well, assuming that I can import from eval into here as well. So the standard libraries, well, I suppose that so far is defined within main. It's kind of, I suppose, a pseudo library or a reflection based library so far, whereas the prototypes are defined kind of in a more standalone way. So I'll split those out. I'll need to turn that into a function. So we'll try that. And we have strip prefix starts with. I should probably rename those to actually be the to start with the type that they affect, or realistically I should move these into their own submodules as well. But anyway, that will introduce mod prototypes. Yeah, that will need to import a bunch of stuff from here and possibly from here. So I'll just import all of those and then remove what I don't need. So there's a lot that I don't need. Built-in scope stack, program parser, and main doesn't need prototypes anymore. Uh, 13, don't need AST, probably don't need most of those. Let's try that. No, needed some of those at least. Probably just hash map. Oh, and into iter. Do I have to do that? Is probably do I have to do that super thing again? Oh yeah, for these I probably have to do use super eval. And for that I need the from iterator as well, don't I? So I'll add that, move prototypes into prototype module, and then yeah, it would be nice to move that into its own module as well, but for the moment I'll leave it as is. So we have built-ins, we have mod, the main evaluation module, and we have value. So I would have liked to split it up a little bit more, but I think because of the recursive, the mutually recursive function calls, that's probably as good as I'm going to get. Now, that was actually a surprising amount of time that it took just to split the project into more files. I'd certainly hoped to get more done in this session, such as just turning a few value variants into tuples and introducing a few new kind of helper functions for um, creating variable references. But that can probably be done in a follow-on session. So what would the next one look like? So new int, for example. So if I have new val ref, where is that being used? And so the first of those will be a list. And so if I had value, instead of having new val ref, I would have a helper called new list. And it would take, let's see, x's, which would be a vector of value, or no, of valref with source. It would call new valref with source. No, not with source. And eventually I would hopefully make new valref itself not public, but for the moment I think, yeah, basically this will be kind of the roadmap to making that private. So let's see, I can get rid of x's as well. Now it would be nice to be able to get rid of vector there, but I think that's all right the way it is. And if I compile that, yeah, that's all right. So I'll probably leave it there. Just with a kind of a hint to next time as to what I'm in the middle of. But yeah, that was just kind of quick stream. Probably did, like I said, didn't really get as much time as I would have liked, but yeah, I suppose this is refactoring that was badly needed, and will hopefully get a little bit more done in the next few days too. So thanks everyone who checked out this stream, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.